introduced me to One Body Village, a non-profit organization that rescue and provide shelters for victims affected. Last summer, I had the opportunity to visit One Body Village, and listening to stories about these young survivors touched my heart very deeply, and I became very empowered. I became passionate about this issue. The more I research, the more terrified I am at the world around me. I can't comprehend the fact that slavery still exists. As naive as I may sound, in my mind, slavery only exists in my history textbook, or it only exists in the past. But I was wrong. Slavery exists and is scarier and for a worse form than what I imagined. In fact, International Labor Organization estimate 40.3 million people are in modern slavery. 1 in 4 victims are children. Human trafficking is the 21st century modern slavery. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is a crime involves exploiting a person through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of labor and commercial sex. This crime generates a profit of $150 billion annually. And to put it into perspective, if you combine all the sport industry in America, that would only accumulate to $73.5 billion. That number is nowhere compared to the number generated from human trafficking. This number will skyrocket in the coming years if we do not take action. I always thought human trafficking only exists in developing countries. Never had it cross my mind that it would happen here in the United States. But the truth is, human trafficking does not only happen half a block from where I live. It is happening here, right now as I'm talking to you. In fact, many victims of human trafficking are students attending American schools, according to the U.S. Department of State in the Trafficking in Person report in 2013. This is a disturbing fact that I have to force myself to believe. Understanding that human trafficking exists was already a challenge for me. And digesting this new piece of information that human trafficking exists in schools is too difficult, almost impossible for me to accept. How can you possibly make me believe that this is happening where I live? I don't think I ever see any news article about human trafficking happening in school, so in my mind I'm thinking this can't be true. But when I decided to research about it, I found more disturbing facts. Last year, 156 cases of human trafficking were reported in Virginia, and 47 cases involving minors. These students attending American schools are victims of this horrendous crime. Looking at this statistic, I have no choice but to accept this cruel reality. Human trafficking is a very sensitive topic. We rather pretend it doesn't exist than to acknowledge the truth. And when we realize the problem, we're stuck. We don't know what to do next. Because human trafficking happens in America, I believe that it's time that we face this issue and find the solution to our problem. We don't need one of us to suffer for us to start a prevention program. We don't need this number to increase for us to do something, because just the mere fact that it exists means that we should take action. We need to begin somewhere. By implementing human trafficking education into school, we are moving in the right direction. Educating students and school staff on the nature and danger of human trafficking is the most practical way in ending human trafficking. I believe every teacher and school staff should be trained to recognize the symptoms and signs of human trafficking and to develop a protocol to respond to this crime. Since 4th grade, I have been participating in family life education, learning about abstinence, domestic violence, sexually transmitted disease, but the word human trafficking was never mentioned in any of my 7 years in family life. So why is that? Why haven't school educate students about human trafficking when students are victims of this crime? I think it's time that school incorporate human trafficking education into family life. It is important that students learn the lures and tactics that traffickers may use in order to avoid them. Traffickers can disguise in many forms. They can shower you with gifts and praises to gain your trust, and the next day take advantage of your vulnerability and force you into human trafficking. Students also need to be aware of the negative pressures that may make them susceptible and vulnerable to traffickers. It is important that school not only provide a safe learning environment for students, but to also empower them to avoid exploitation. We can no longer not do something when it is happening right here in our own backyard. When we keep silent, it is a green light for traffickers to continue what they are doing. The traffickers are working in the shadow. By educating ourselves and raising awareness, we are exposing them to light. Traffickers not only target those who are vulnerable, they target those that do not know. I hope that educators in America's school begin to realize the importance of educating students about the danger of human trafficking before it is too late. I hope that each one of us take the initiative to educate ourselves about this crime so that we and the people that we know will not be a victim of this issue. Because an educated student is a protected student. The idea of implementing a prevention program in school is not a new idea, but it is an idea worth spreading. It is an idea that needs to become a reality, and this is why I deliver my TED Talk. And with that, I want to end with a reminder to everyone, to anyone who cares. Silent kills, our only option is to do something. Thank you.